Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Mi naitwa Arnold. Now it's been a while since I've made a video talking about physical media, which is such a shame because this year I had one of the most incredible runs of collecting physical media ever since I started. And today I wanted to make a video to talk about some movies that I got on physical media and give you guys some recommendations. Anyway, without further ado, this is Movies Now Mosh. Let's get into it. Now the first movie I have for you guys, this one is kind of like a hidden gem for me. I had an idea that this movie existed because some of my friends were always hyping it up, and I'd never really seen it until recently when I got a copy of it on DVD and decided to give it a go. This one is none other than Gravity. Now this movie is directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who some of you know he directed the third Harry Potter movie, which is actually my personal favorite movie in that series. And after watching this movie, I think this one is probably my favorite work of his. Now in this movie, it tells a story about this female astronaut who is trapped in space after her shuttle is destroyed by space debris that are floating around in orbit. Apparently that's a thing I had no idea existed until I watched this movie. We follow her as she has to journey deeper into space to find a return module and hopefully make it back to Earth. Now, I like it when directors take sci-fi elements and then they use it to tell deeply personal stories, and I feel that is what they were telling in this movie. When we learn her backstory, this movie kind of becomes a metaphor of her healing journey, battling through depression, anxiety, and finding the will to live, which is her making it back to Earth. Through the movie, you find that she's solving one thing and then another obstacle occurs, and then she has to find ways of overcoming that new obstacle. And it's just a series of scenes that are just building tension from one scene to another as the film goes on, and will leave you in the edge of your seat from the start to the finish. I highly recommend you go seek it out. Now, the second movie I have for you guys, this one is a classic that if you really like movies, you've probably heard about it before. This one is none other than Goodfellas. Now, this movie was directed by Martin Scorsese, who is actually my personal favorite filmmaker. Most people would say that this one is probably his best movie. I'm not sure I share that same sentiment, but I will agree that this one is probably his most enjoyable film to watch. Now, this movie is an autobiographical retelling of the rise and fall of Henry Hill, this kind of like former mafia associate who turns his back on the mob, goes into witness protection. Now, in this movie, it's him kind of retelling his life and how he was seduced into this life of crime and drugs. I like the way Martin Scorsese gets his audience to care about characters who are typically flawed from a moral standpoint. He finds a way of making you get involved and understanding their point of view. And one of the ways he does that in this movie is through voiceovers. Most of the movie is told through his perspective. And another way he does this is through the camera work. Most people will call into attention that famous tracking shot scene in the restaurant where it's Henry Hill kind of introducing his girlfriend and asks the audience into his life of luxury and his life of privilege. So it seduces you into this life of crime, drugs, and murder. And even in the final scene where the editing starts becoming very frantic because we are meant to be in the perspective of our protagonist who's high on cocaine. Just little stuff like that. He has a way of getting you into the mind of his protagonist. Martin Scorsese also has this ability where he's able to immerse you into a certain culture or in a certain place and time in history. He can do that effortlessly. I think that one is his biggest strength as a filmmaker. Now, for the third movie, this one is the first animated movie I'm going to be talking about. This one is none other than Coraline. I really like this movie because I've watched it a million times, and the very first time I watched it when I was a kid, it really scared the shit out of me because this movie is really disturbing when you think about it. It tells this story about this young girl who feels kind of like neglected by their family after they move out to this new apartment in the countryside. She discovers this tiny trapdoor in the new house, which leads to this alternate dream-like reality where a better version of her life, her friends, her family exists. It's this world where everything is perfect, and it becomes this thing where she's looking forward to going to this dream world every single day. And along the way, she begins to discover that this dream world is actually a nightmare in disguise, and things are not what they initially seem to be. Now, I'm not going to spoil it too much. I think this one is one that most people need to go and see because it will blow your mind away, and that third act is going to scare the shit out of you. I guarantee you. I don't know how they managed to market this movie to kids. Now, this movie is made using stop motion animation, which is one of the most hardest animations to pull off. It was done by this guy, Henry Selick, who is a master in this type of animation. The same guy who did Nightmare Before Christmas, and I think this one is probably his masterpiece. It's mostly a story about feeling contented about the life that you have. Most people think that there's an alternate reality where a better version of their parents exist, or a better version of their spouses, their friends, or their loved ones. In this movie, it's kind of like showing you that sometimes that better version that you're hoping for might not be what it's cracked up to be. The people that are around your life, all their different personalities and their flaws, are actually something you need to cherish. This movie is kind of like a dark fairy tale of sorts that has important lessons to teach, but in a way it kind of like scares you while teaching you these lessons. It's one of those spooky movies that I like watching during Halloween. Now, for the fourth movie I have for you guys, this one is another one that is a classic. This one is none other than Reservoir Dogs. This movie was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. I know Tarantino is a subject of controversy right now, but he makes good movies. I'm not going to lie. The very first Quentin Tarantino movie I ever saw was Pulp Fiction. I was immediately drawn into this guy's style and approach towards filmmaking. He has a way of telling these stories in a non-linear way, juggling different characters and different subplots and managing to get them come together in such a cohesive manner. And I think in this movie is where he kind of perfected that style. In this movie, we follow a group of gangsters who are planning this big heist, which we never see. We only see them during their planning stages and in the aftermath of the heist when everything goes wrong. A large majority of the movie takes place in this small warehouse as they are trying to figure out one person in the group who betrayed them, causing the heist to go wrong and causing some of their members to actually get killed. It becomes this intense thriller where we are following different characters, understanding their own perspectives. Tension is always building and building and building until that perfect climax, that infamous Mexican standoff where every character is holding a gun and one wrong move and everyone dies. He manages to use characters and dialogue to build tension into this kind of explosive climax. He has this way of constructing scenes where like you know something bad is bound to happen, but you're just waiting for that explosive climax. Anyway, these are the movies I wanted to talk about today. If you guys like this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and let me know what you think about these movies. Until next time, see you in another video.